what's going on, vinyl community and Kiss Army? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, as some of you may have been expecting, I am going to be participating in the 2026 Kiss vinyl tag. Now, I might be a little late to the vinyl tag party since we are now in the month of February, but during the beginning of every year, the YouTube vinyl community takes part in a yearly vinyl tag that usually consists of 10 to 20 prompts that showcase your record collection. Now, obviously, we here in the Kiss community, yes, spelled with a K, do the Kiss vinyl tag. Now, I initiated the first Kiss vinyl tag back in 2023, and then my buddy Xander at Kiss Army Things did it for 2024, which I unfortunately didn't do a submission for that year. There was just some other content that I was working on at the time, so I didn't quite get around to doing it that year. Then in 2025, me and some other Kiss content creators, namely Xander at Kiss Army Things, Rick at It's All For You Demon, Brant at In My Head, and Glenn at Tales of a Kiski collaborated together on the tag. And now in 2026, Xander has once again taken the helm, and I am more than happy to throw my hat into the ring. Now, I gotta give him props for making this tag super fun to tackle. Each prompt is cleverly titled after a Kiss song title or lyric, and I was intentional on showing every corner of what entails with my Kiss vinyl collection. So enough of the chit chat, let's jump into what this video is all about. Number 1. The Amplifiers Start To Hum. Show any live Kiss record, official or unofficial. Did someone say unofficial? Because look, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I use my platform here on YouTube to talk about all of the great Kiss bootlegs that dominate the underground market. And I could have pulled any one from my collection, but it got me thinking, what Kiss album is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year in 2026? That's right, Destroyer. So I decided to showcase a bootleg from the Destroyer tour that I think stands out as one of the finest that circulate, and it is this right here. So this release here is called All New Bizarre Stage Show, and this consists of the show at the Richfield Coliseum in Cleveland, Ohio on September 3rd, 1976. This has been circulating for a good number of years. It's a soundboard recording, which sounds absolutely awesome, and this vinyl pressing came out, I want to say, 5 or so years ago. They did this sort of series where they took a lot of the Destroyer soundboards and they packaged them with these sort of unison style jackets with obi strips and all kinds of extras. I'll pull out everything and show you, but this is one of my favorites from the Destroyer tour that I have in my collection, so definitely seek this out if you can find it. It's up on YouTube if you want to listen to it, but if you love the bells and whistles packaging, you'll definitely enjoy this. So as you see, kind of has like a mock-up sort of billboard there with the guys as they appear on the Destroyer album cover. Here is the back with the track list, and obviously, as you can see here, nice purple obi. They did several color variants, so which color you get depends on what color the obi is, so that's a dead giveaway right there. Nice gatefold jacket, which looks great, and I'll pull out all the extras. You get a nice sort of tour book style program booklet with various photos of the band. I doubt these are all taken from the Cleveland show. I'll have to double check, but there's some great era appropriate photos from this tour, which look fantastic. Really good stuff. And then there is also a giant fold out poster, which opens up just like that, which looks really great. Definitely specially designed for this release. And obviously, because it is a purple obi, that means that it is pressed on sort of purple magenta colored vinyl. Number 2. Your lightning's all I need. Show a copy of any Ace Frehley album in honor of the Spaceman. So obviously, at the tail end of 2025, we lost our dearly beloved original Spaceman, Ace Frehley, and it was such a weird day when he passed, because on that same day, Kiss had announced the Dress to Kill box set, and that day went from just being completely and totally euphoric, like, wow, you know, for the first time in 3 years since the Creatures box, we're now getting some new Kiss product, fantastic. And then the day just ended on, like, the most saddest note possible. So, luckily we have the music to remember him by and keep his legacy lit. And for this, I decided to pick out a really fun Ace album that I have in my collection, and that is Spaceman. Now, this record came out in 2018, and I have a lot of fondness for this record. I think it was because I was so invested at the time when it came out. Without You, I'm Nothing, and Your Wish Is My Command. I believe Gene Simmons plays bass on those tracks, and he also co-wrote those songs. Bronx Boy is a great typical Ace rocker. He covers Eddie Money's I Want to Go Back. Mission to Mars is great. Obviously, the record closes with an instrumental called Quantum Flux, and it's really, really good. Now, you're probably wondering, what version is this? Because this is not the original album cover. This right here is the indie exclusive variant that was only available at mom and pop record stores. I managed to find this at a record store out in Peoria, Illinois, and it was still sealed, and it was like $25, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll totally take it. And as you see, it kind of riffs on that Elvis album cover. What's it, like 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Has Ace in like an orange spacesuit, and then the helmet has his makeup persona right there. So it kind of riffs on that. Same with the color scheme on the back. And just for the fun of it, I'll showcase the vinyl. Now, the center label features the original cover image that appears pretty much everywhere, but it does also come pressed on orange vinyl, which looks really stunning. Number 3. Show your favorite Kiss picture disc. Now, this was a challenge because I do collect those picture disc bootleg box sets that are centered on certain tours. I very easily could have picked one of those, but I decided to give myself a challenge. Because when it comes down to Kiss picture discs, I only own just a handful. I'm not one of those guys that goes after all the Kiss Online exclusive picture discs just because they are way too expensive. They sell out so quick, and they appreciate big time in value, but it's just not for me. But there were a couple that they had released early on that weren't so scarcely available that you could get for decent prices, and I managed to get my hands on those. So I went through what I had, and I decided to pick this one, and that is Rock and Roll Over. Now, I believe this version of Rock and Roll Over came out in, what was it, 2021. So this would have been for the album's 45th anniversary, but also, just like Destroyer, this album celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. Could we get a box set? Could we get another picture disc? Who really knows? But to kind of showcase this off a little bit, it's kind of hard to tell on camera. Maybe you can see it, but like the silver trimming around the saw blade and the Kiss logos is really effective. And they also printed the jacket on this really nice, sturdy, like stout and tip-on style jacket, which looks great. And then as an added bonus, of course, we do have the printed inner. And of course, we have the sticker like it came with the original. But exclusive to this pressing, you have a sort of 3D lenticular print of the album cover, which looks great. And obviously, the picture disc itself. Now, why is this my favorite? Because, you can do so much with, putting an album cover on a picture disc, just cropping it perfectly in circular frame. But just because we have the saw blade graphic on the album cover and it's already circular, it just lends itself to looking spectacular on the picture disc format. So it looks fantastic. And then the backside has all the logos as they appear on the printed inner sleeve. Number 4. Which Kiss record do you play the most? Again, I wanted to give myself a challenge because I could have easily picked a bootleg that I know for a fact I have listened to more than some official Kiss releases, but I decided to sort of box myself into the main studio catalog. And it's kind of ironic that this prompt was dubbed Tomorrow and Tonight because the Kiss record that I play the most is Love Gun. And why is that? Because Love Gun is my favorite Kiss album. And I think it's because it all stems from childhood. Because when I was a kid growing up, I first became a Kiss fan when I was 2 years old. And the first Kiss release I ever received was the CD version of Greatest Kiss. But then around the time of like my third birthday in 2000, I had received Love Gun on cassette. So scientifically speaking, outside of compilations, etc., that Love Gun was my first Kiss. And I just have a lot of memories listening to it on my little Fisher Price tape deck. And there's actually footage of me on my third birthday, at my third birthday party, jamming out to Christine 16, Love Gun, Got Love for Sale on my little plastic guitar, wagging my tongue out like I was Gene Simmons. Just great memories. But also that ties into one of the things that I love about being a Kiss fan for me personally is that it has those childhood ties and it kind of keeps the kid in me alive, basically. But also too, I mean, when you think about it historically, this came out in summer of 1977. Kiss just could not do anything wrong, and this is them at their absolute peak. But also, this has a lot of my favorite Kiss songs. I love "Shock Me," I love "Plaster Caster." "Almost Human" is probably my favorite song on the record. "Hooligan" is great. "I Stole Your Love." The title track, even though I kind of don't want to hear it ever again, I don't mind hearing it on this album. It's just great stuff. Now, for the sake of showcasing, because I do have variants of things, this right here is the Kiss Online exclusive colored vinyl pressing. This came out for its 45th anniversary in 2022. And what's kind of unique is that, yes, it does replicate the original printed inner sleeve. Take a look at the prop gun. That is a different color scheme than what appeared on the original pressing. So this version kind of stands out for that. And obviously I do not have it assembled. I do have a copy that does have the gun assembled, but I decided to keep this one as is. And this also comes pressed on gold vinyl, and they went ahead and replicated how the band appeared on the album cover onto the Record and Filmworks label, which is exactly how the original pressing appeared. Number 5. Which Kiss record do you play the least? And again, another challenge because I can't really pick one Kiss album that I can say that I despise. There's something to all of their records that I love. But if I have to pick one, you're not going to see me running to put on Animalize to listen to. And at this point, this is where Kiss started to sort of trace whatever the MTV trends were at the time. So during the early parts of their non-makeup period, still rooted in sort of hair metal. But then like when they got to Asylum, it was, going for the more glammy, flashy neon thing. Then pop with Crazy Nights and etc. So they were kind of just going wherever the music scene was going. And also at this point, Gene Simmons had gone Hollywood. And, when you focus on movies too much and you write a track like Burn Bitch Burn, that's a cry for help. Now, the thing is, there's songs on this album that I absolutely love. I enjoy I've Had Enough Into the Fire. I do enjoy Get All You Can Take. Heaven's on Fire. I mean, yeah, it's a big hit, but I don't need to hear it again. Under the Gun's fun. I love Thrills in the Night. So I usually will find myself listening to individual songs on this album. But if you play me things like Lonely is the Hunter, While the City Sleeps, and Murder in High Heels, I could not tell you which one is which. It is that level of filler. But again, to show things off, this is the 40th anniversary pressing from Kiss Online. They kind of went with like a sort of foil reflection style cover, which looks pretty nice and deluxe. And they went ahead and did some tinkering with the artwork, which is kind of fresh. So we have the printed inner sleeve here, which usually these photos were black and white, but there's like a red orangish tinge. And then they added a yellow background to the lyrics. Also comes with a bonus poster, which is newly designed. It's basically the album logo and title with the back cover image with the sort of animal stripes on both ends. And then as for the vinyl, I will say, as much as I don't go nuts over the album itself, the vinyl of this pressing looks sick. This is black and white cornetto, but the black is also translucent, which is pretty damn sick. Number 6. Show a Kiss record you couldn't believe you found in person. Now, this might be a bit of a jaw dropper for some of you watching. When I go record shopping, obviously I make it a point to look within the K section to see what Kiss records a record store has. And 9 times out of 10, I am never impressed. Maybe that's because of what it is that I seek out or what things I already own. And again, like most of the stuff that I have in my Kiss collection that I look at and think, oh my God, I can't believe I have this. It's all stuff that I've gotten from eBay or things that I've gotten on Facebook through Brian's Kiss vinyl, things like that. So I pretty much, like 9 times out of 10, I don't really get wowed when I find Kiss records in person. Except for one time back in 2022, I found my original copy of Kiss Symphony Alive 4. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I purchased this the same trip that I got the Ace Frehley Spaceman, the indie version that I showed you guys earlier. So I found this, and it's funny, for a while, Kiss Symphony was one of my missing pieces in my collection, and I knew that there were some unofficials that were circulating out there, but I was like, it would be really great if I could find an official pressing of it. Sure enough, I did. Yeah, the jacket has a little bit of wear to it, but the trifold jacket has held up beautifully. The vinyl is perfect. And aside from the Kisteria exclusive pressing, this has never been properly reissued. And then sure enough, sometime later, I did find an unofficial, which I bought. But I have this, mainly because this was one of those sort of long-awaited pieces that I really, really wanted, and it was just a complete, utter moment of joy when I found this in person. Again, like I said, probably the one time I freaked out and found a record that I couldn't believe I saw in person and ended up snagging it for my collection. Number 7. Show the Kiss record you must listen to all the way through. Now, for this one, I picked The Black Sheep of Kiss's studio catalog, the album that either you love or you hate. And in my case, I adore this record and will defend it to my dying day, and that is Music from the Elder. Now, why did I pick this album as being the one that I must listen to all the way through? It is down to the simple fact that it is indeed a concept album, and in my book, concept albums are meant to be experienced from top to bottom. Think of The Who's Tommy and Quadrophenia, Pink Floyd's The Wall, Genesis' The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Those are adventures that you sit down and you go through all the way through. And that's exactly what I do with this album. Now, The Elder is one of those concept albums too that does work well out of context. I mean, can you listen to tracks like A World Without Heroes, The Oath, and and enjoy them without any sort of context to what the concept and the narrative of the album is? 1000%. But if I want to go on a Kiss-tastic adventure, I will go to this record. Now, this pressing that I'm holding up is pretty unique. This is a German pressing from, when was this? Was this 2021, I want to say? So this was around the time of the album's 40th anniversary. And as you see here, it has the sort of censored German logo, which is cool. And it has like a sort of embossed foil type finish, which is really nice and deluxe. This is also numbered as well. This is copy number 6264. And there's all kinds of extra goodies that come with this pressing. You have the original printed inner sleeve with all the lyrics. You even have this sort of fold-out insert, which has all of the German lyric translations. And there's also an insert that has the Japanese cover on one side, and I believe this side is the Australian cover. If someone needs to correct me, please do so in the comments. And some copies also came with a very own custom Music from the Elder brown paper bag. So if there's ever a shortage, I know where I need to go to find one. And this also comes pressed on clear vinyl. It has the original custom labels, and what's great is this is mastered at half speed. Now, without getting too much into the scientifics of it, half speed mastering enables you to get more intricate detail out of the source, and given that this is a Bob Ezrin production, I think the albums that he produced with Kiss, namely this one along with Destroyer, possibly Revenge, definitely would benefit from the half-speed mastering treatment. So this pressing does sound very good to my ears. And also the running order is the Robert V. Conti approved version, because the original pressing had the track list all kind of scrambled, whereas this puts it in its original running order with Escape from the Island. The fanfare opens it up instead of the oath. It's definitely the definitive way to hear this album on vinyl. Number 8. Money can really take you far. Show a Kiss record that you bought for cheap but is actually worth more. So I'm going to break things up a little bit. So far, you've seen some fancy bootlegs. You've seen the Kiss Online exclusives. You've seen colored vinyl. You're probably wondering, where is all the vintage stuff? Now, truth be told, I do have a small crop of vintage Kiss pressings that I own personally. I don't have them part of the main collection just because the condition's a little rough, but there's also some historical value behind them that, to me, condition doesn't really matter. That's just my rule with collecting. And look, there's no golden book to how you collect records as long as you're happy with it. So that's the approach that I have. But I think what I'm going to show you guys is pretty damn impressive. So here is a genuine first pressing of the first Kiss album. Now, as you see, there's some rips around the bottom of the front and back cover. There's a split in the spine here. But why do I have this? Well, I'm going to show you. Can you see where side 2 begins and what is the first track? That's right. It is Deuce. Let's take a look at the vinyl. Side 2 label starts with Deuce. So this is indeed the first pressing that they had put out before they included Kissin' Time on subsequent pressings starting and around summer of 1974. Now, there are a number of different transitional versions that are out there. There's some copies that have Kissin' Time on the record, but not on the label, or vice versa. It's a weird sort of rabbit hole to find yourself in, but luckily, a buddy of mine found this for me, and I think I paid $20 for it. And the averages start around like 100 to 120 in VG or less condition, but all around VG plus copies, it's towards $200 or higher. So $200 versus $20 just for the sake of having it, well worth it. Number 9. Impress us. Show a rare, vintage, misprint, bootleg, etc. Kiss record. Did that say bootleg? I think it did. So the bootleg I'm going to share with you guys is one that I actually just got fairly recently. I haven't showed this off on the channel before, but I think I may have posted about it on social media. But there's something behind this show that this bootleg is centered on that makes it pretty impressive to share, especially, for me. And that is Madison Square Garden, New York, December 2nd, 2023. This is indeed a vinyl bootleg of Kiss's last show from the End of the Road tour, and it is indeed a show that I am glad to say I was at. I always have a thing with collecting shows on vinyl or even CD, whatever, of concerts that I have been to, albeit officially or unofficial. And I'm glad to say that I was a spectator at the last show at the Garden. Yes, I may have paid $100 for my seat, which was within the Chase Bridge section of the Garden, aka the nosebleed of nosebleeds, basically. But at that point, it just didn't even matter. What mattered was I was in the building. And it's kind of crazy because this is sourced from the pay-per-view broadcast. So it's basically a soundboard recording that sounds great. But I'm shocked that they have not officially released this yet. Now, I know that there is the End of the Road tour documentary that's in the works. It's been mentioned a couple times. Maybe they'll release it to coincide with the documentary. But until then, if this ever does get an official release, I will keep this just to have, just because I was there and I have such great memories of that weekend, that day, just meeting a bunch of Kiss fans and just enjoying the greatest rock and roll spectacle that ever graced the planet. Now, front cover features Gene, Tommy, and Paul on the front. And the back cover has a shot of when the show starts, when they come down from those pods to the bottom of the stage. There's the track list. Unfortunately, it does not include Beth, and that's just simply because Beth was not part of the pay-per-view. But if you watch the recap on Kiss's YouTube channel, they included part of the song, so maybe for the official release they'll put it out. And this is also limited out of 50 copies. This is copy number 21, and it does come with a cool insert that folds out. Features a great shot of Gene and Paul there, and this is pressed on marbled green vinyl, which looks pretty sick. Number 10. What Kiss record is currently at the top of your want list? Now, again, I have to give the curator of this year's Kiss Vinyl Tag a major shout out, Xander at Kiss Army Things, because not only is he the host of that podcast, but he is also the head of KissMuseum.com. And when he took over, he was doing some collection buys, and he had reached out to me regarding the #1 Holy Grail Kiss vinyl piece for my collection, and that is an official 2010 Sonic Boom. It was sealed, but I opened it. I did a whole video on this particular release. And I gotta say, when I acquired this pressing, I reached a point in my collecting journey where I was very comfortable. And it's kind of this thing where, like, when you get into collecting, it's all about building and getting things that you love, but there's always that one elusive piece that, it would be a dream to obtain. And I did it. And I don't want to say, like, my collecting journey came to an end, because obviously it never ends. But I had reached a very comfortable position once I finally got this in my collection. But that does not mean that I don't want any other Kiss record out there, because there is one particular release that is at the top of my Kiss vinyl want list, and that is the Originals 1974 to 1979 Japanese vinyl box set. And I have a bit of a funny story to share with you regarding that set, and that is, I almost bought it. So let's trail back to 2023. It's the last leg of the End of the Road tour in the U.S., and I had flown out to California, and I caught the shows at Palm Springs and the Hollywood Bowl. And during my trip there, I made it a point to check out some record stores. And one of the shops I went to was Amoeba, which, as any vinyl collector does, they make the pilgrimage to go there. It's one of those sort of legendary shops. It's a little overrated, but you still had to go. Now, I walk in, I see the new arrivals, and what's in front? The fucking original 74 to 79 box. I had never seen it in person before, and it was just like a holy shit. You know what? Maybe that contradicts the whole, Kiss record you couldn't believe you found in person thing that I did earlier when I showed Kiss Symphony. Kind of contradicts it, but I was like, holy crap. Now, it was priced at $700. And if I would have bought it sight unseen, I would have had to not visit the other record stores I ended up going to. And I was thinking about it. It's like, yeah, I have all the records that are in this box, albeit multiple pressings, this and that. I might have to walk away. I was so close to asking one of the record shop personnel if they did payment plans on it. I was so determined to get it. So sure enough, some time passes, and I'm buddies on Facebook with Rich Kosak, who is the Paul Stanley guy in the tribute band Mr. Speed. He's posing with the box set, and he goes, "Look what I found at Amoeba." And I'm like, he bought it? And when we did an interview together for the Council of the Elder series, he kept like randomly grabbing it and showing it in frame as if it was like the talisman from Kiss Meets the Phantom. It's one of those things that it could have been, but it never was then. Maybe it can happen now. Obviously, it's a very scarce release, and over time, prices do go up. So I don't know if my chances are running slim right now as we speak, but as of filming, that is currently at the #1 spot on my Kiss Vinyl Want list. So there you guys go. That is my submission into the 2026 Kiss Vinyl Tag. If you're watching this and you're a Kiss content creator, or you have a nice sizable Kiss vinyl collection and you have yet to participate, Tag, you are it. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.